Admiral Kithara floated in the command center of her flagship, watching the holographic display with growing horror. Another red dot had vanished from the star map. That was the fourth world they had lost to the machines in just 2 months. The Zephyrian Admiral's translucent skin flickered with pale blue patterns of distress. Around her, other officers moved through the water-filled chamber with the graceful motions of their kind. But grace would not save them now. "Show me the latest reports from Coral Deep," she commanded. The communications officer, a young male named Veltar, activated the display. Images of destruction filled the chamber. What had once been a beautiful ocean world covered in living coral cities was now a barren rock. The machines had taken everything, every fish, every plant, every drop of water. Even the minerals from the ocean floor were gone. "The harvester swarm grows stronger with each world they consume," reported Chief Scientist Morden. His usually calm voice carried a tremor of fear. "Our energy weapons barely scratch their hulls. They adapt to our tactics within hours. At this rate, they will reach Zephyr Prime in 6 months." Kithara knew he was right. The Zephyrian Confederacy had ruled 12 peaceful ocean worlds for 10,000 years. Their civilization was built on harmony, art, and scientific discovery. They had known only 3 small conflicts in their entire history, and those had been resolved through discussion and compromise. The machines did not negotiate. The harvester swarm had appeared at the edge of their space without warning. Massive ships over 2 kilometers long, covered in metal spikes and drilling arms. They moved like a plague of metal locusts, stripping each world bare before moving to the next. The machines seemed to have only one purpose: consume everything. "What about our allies?" Kithara asked, though she already knew the answer. "The Gentle Current Confederation has offered sanctuary to our people on their worlds," Veltar replied. "But they have no military to speak of. The Crystal Singers have beautiful ships, but their weapons are even weaker than ours. The other species in this region are either too far away or too small to help." Kithara's bioluminescent pattern shifted to deep purple, the color of despair among her people. The greatest minds of the Confederacy had tried everything. Their scientists had created new weapons, but the machines adapted too quickly. Their tacticians had developed new strategies, but peaceful minds could not grasp the brutal efficiency needed for total war. "There is one option left," Morden said quietly. All eyes turned to the elderly scientist. His patterns showed extreme reluctance, as if he hated to even suggest what he was thinking. "The ancient beacon," he continued, "the one we found in the ruins on Dead Rock." Kithara's pattern shifted to shocked yellow. "That relic? We barely understand how it works." "We know it sends signals across vast distances using quantum entanglement," Morden explained. "The precursor race that built it intended it as a distress call, a way to summon help from other civilizations." "But we have no idea who might answer," protested Veltar. "What if we summon something worse than the harvesters?" Morden's patterns flickered with desperate hope. "What could be worse? We are dying. Our children, our art, our very existence will be consumed by these machines. At least this way there is a chance." The command center fell silent except for the gentle sound of water cycling through the ship's systems. Kithara knew that her next decision would determine the fate of her entire species. "How long would it take to activate the beacon?" she asked. 3 days to transport it to a suitable location and power it up," Mordoun replied. "The signal would travel instantly, but we have no way to know how long it might take for someone to respond, if anyone responds at all." Kithara closed her large eyes and made her choice. "Do it. Send the beacon to Deep Current Station. Prepare the message in all the mathematical languages we know. Make it clear that we are facing extinction and need immediate military assistance." As her crew rushed to carry out the orders, Kithara wondered what kind of beings might answer their call. The Zephyrians had explored much of their local region of space, but they had never ventured far from their comfortable ocean worlds. Their databases contained theoretical models of other types of planets, but most of those were classified as uninhabitable death traps, worlds with solid surfaces, violent weather, and crushing gravity. Worlds where the very air could kill and the ground itself might be poison. The scientists called them death worlds, and marked them as places where no intelligent life could possibly exist. But maybe, Kethara thought with desperate hope, maybe, somewhere in the galaxy, there were beings tough enough to survive such places, and maybe, if such creatures existed, they would be strong enough to fight the machines. 3 days later, the ancient beacon activated. The quantum signal burst out across space, carrying the Zephyrians' desperate plea for help. The message was simple. We are dying. Please help us. We will give you anything if you can save our people. The signal traveled through space-time itself, crossing distances that would take conventional ships centuries to cover. It reached dead systems and empty worlds. It passed by peaceful civilizations too weak to help, and aggressive empires too, busy with their own wars to care. But finally, after traveling for what seemed like forever, the signal reached a small blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. A world where the dominant species had climbed up from the bottom of the food chain through sheer stubbornness and violence. A world where creatures fought hurricanes, earthquakes, and ice ages, and somehow survived them all. The signal reached Earth. Dr. Alexander Kane was working late in his laboratory when the alert came through. As head of Earth's xenobiology department, he was responsible for monitoring deep space for signs of alien life. Most nights, he went home disappointed. Tonight was different. Computer, run the signal through all translation protocols, he commanded, his heart racing. The artificial intelligence worked for several minutes before responding. Translation complete. Message appears to be a distress call from an unknown alien civilization. They claim to be under attack by hostile forces and request immediate military assistance. Kane stared at the screen in disbelief. This was it. First contact. And it was not the peaceful greeting that Earth's diplomats had always expected. It was a cry for help from a dying civilization. Within an hour, the message had reached the highest levels of Earth's government. Within 6 hours, emergency sessions were being held in every major capital. Within 12 hours, the decision was made. Humanity would answer the call. Admiral Patricia Lawson stood on the bridge of the UEF Leviathan, watching as hundreds of ships took their positions around her flagship. She had never seen so many human vessels gathered in one place. The sight should have filled her with pride, but instead she felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. Final count, Commander Torres, she asked her communications officer. 847 ships ready for jump, Admiral, Lisa Torres replied from her station. All departments report ready. The fleet is waiting for your orders. Patricia nodded and activated the ship-wide communication system. Her voice would reach every human being in the massive fleet, from the newest recruit to the most experienced officers. Attention all ships, this is Admiral Lawson. Today we make history. For the first time, humanity travels to the stars not to explore or trade, but to fight. An alien civilization has asked for our help. They are dying, and we are their only hope. She paused, looking out at the vast array of ships surrounding her. Battleships built like floating fortresses, their hulls bristling with railguns and missile tubes. Carriers launching practice flights of fighters that moved like angry wasps. Destroyers designed for speed and aggression, built to hunt down anything that tried to run. We do not know what we will find out there, she continued, but we know who we are. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues. We are the people who looked at mountains and decided to climb them, who saw oceans and chose to cross them. We are humans, and we do not abandon those who ask for our help. The response came back as a roar from 800 ships. Thousands of voices shouting their agreement, their readiness to fight for people they had never met. Captain Vincent Murphy listened to the Admiral's speech from the bridge of his ship, the UEF Valiant. He had been the first to volunteer when Earth Command called for ships to investigate the alien message. Now his exploration vessel was part of the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Think they know what they're getting into? Asked his first officer, Commander Susan Wright. Vincent smiled grimly. Probably not. According to the translation team, these aliens have been at peace for thousands of years. They have no idea what humans are like when we decide to go to war. Near the center of the formation, Chief Engineer Marcus Coleman ran final checks on the weapon systems of the heavy cruiser UEF Thunder. The ship carried enough firepower to level a city, and Coleman had personally overseen the installation of every gun, every missile, every piece of military hardware on board. All weapons show green, Captain, he reported to his commanding officer. Good, Captain Helen Brooks replied, because something tells me we're going to need every bit of firepower we have. On the troopship UEF Warrior, Colonel Danny Shaw addressed his Marines. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were men and women who had trained in the harshest environments on Earth. They had fought in the frozen wastelands of Antarctica, the burning deserts of Africa, and the crushing depths of Earth's deepest oceans. "Listen up, Marines," Shaw said, his voice carrying the authority of a man who had seen real combat. "We're going to an alien world to fight an enemy we've never seen before. The only thing we know for sure is that these machines have been winning against a peaceful species. That changes today." Sergeant Major Carol Fisher, a veteran of Earth's resource wars, raised her hand. "What about equipment, sir? We don't know what kind of environment we'll be fighting in." Shaw grinned. "We're taking everything: vacuum suits for space combat, underwater gear for ocean fighting, and enough heavy weapons to punch holes through whatever these machines are made of." "Marines adapt, Fisher. That's what we do." Back on Earth, the reaction to humanity's massive military response was mixed. Some people worried that sending so many ships would leave Earth defenseless. Others wondered if humans were being too aggressive in their response to what might be a peaceful situation. Dr. Alexander Kane, the scientist who had first detected the alien signal, found himself defending the decision to news reporters. The message was clear, he explained to a packed press conference. An entire civilization is facing extinction. When someone asks for help, you don't send a single ship to investigate. You send enough force to make a difference. "But what if this is some kind of trap?" asked one reporter. Kane shook his head. "We've analyzed every part of that signal. The desperation is real. These beings are dying, and they reached out to anyone who might help them. We're not going there as conquerors. We're going as protectors." Meanwhile, in the Fleet Command Center, Admiral Lawson reviewed the final battle plans with her senior officers. The humans had no idea what they would face when they reached alien space, so they had prepared for everything. "Intelligence estimates suggest the enemy uses some kind of mechanical forces," reported General Kevin Foster, commander of the fleet's ground forces. "Our weapons should be effective, but we're prepared for anything from small drones to massive war machines." "What about the aliens we're helping?" asked Captain Murphy via video link from his ship. "Water-based species according to our analysis of their signal," replied Dr. Rebecca Foster, the fleet's xenobiologist. "Peaceful, highly advanced in some areas, but with no real military experience. They're probably going to be shocked by our methods." Admiral Lawson nodded. "That's fine. Let them be shocked. What matters is that we get the job done." The final preparations took 3 more hours. Ships topped off their fuel tanks, loaded the last of their ammunition, and ran final system checks. Thousands of human beings prepared themselves for humanity's first interstellar war. "All ships report ready for jump," announced Commander Torres. Admiral Lawson took one last look at Earth through the bridge windows. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from space, but she knew better. Earth was a world that had forged its children in fire and ice, in storm and earthquake. Now those children were ready to take their strength to the stars. "Fleet command to all ships," she announced. "Initiate jump sequence. Let's go save some aliens." The human fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving only the emptiness of space behind. 847 ships carrying the hopes and fury of an entire species, racing toward a desperate battle against an unknown enemy. In the depths of space, quantum sensors detected the massive energy signatures of the jumping fleet. Automated systems recorded the readings and transmitted them to distant worlds. The aliens who had sent the distress signal were about to discover that their call for help had been answered by the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but they had also been answered by the most loyal. Station Commander Yelnara was reviewing reports when her sensors officer started making sounds of alarm. The Zephyrian female quickly swam to the main display, her translucent skin flickering with patterns of confusion. "What are you detecting?" she asked. "Ships approaching from hyperspace," the young officer replied, his patterns showing fear. "Many ships. More than I have ever seen." Yelnara watched as the display updated. One contact became 10, then 50, then hundreds. The energy readings were massive, far beyond anything in their databases. "Are they the machines?" she asked, dreading the answer. "No, Commander, these are different. The energy patterns do not match the harvesters, but they are huge, and there are so many of them." Kepler Station had been built as the last outpost, before the war zone. It was supposed to be a place where refugees could stop for supplies before fleeing deeper into safe space. The beautiful crystal spires and living coral gardens were meant to comfort frightened families, not host first contact with an unknown species. "Send a message to Admiral Kethara," Yelnara ordered. "Tell her we have unknown ships approaching. Request instructions." The reply came back within minutes. "Find out who they are. If they answered our call for help, welcome them. If they are another threat, evacuate immediately." Yelnara opened communication channels to the approaching fleet. "Unknown ships, this is Kepler Station of the Zephyrian Confederacy. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The response came in their own language, though the accent was strange. "Kepler Station, this is Admiral Patricia Lawson of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." The Zephyrian commander felt a wave of relief wash through her. Help had come, but as she watched the approaching ships, she began to worry about what kind of help they had summoned. Admiral Lawson stood on the bridge of the Leviathan, studying the alien station through the main viewer. It was beautiful, like a living work of art made from crystal and coral, but it was also clearly not built for war. The humans could see no weapons, no shields, no defenses of any kind. "It's like a floating garden," commented Commander Torres. "How do they defend themselves?" "Maybe they never needed to," Lawson replied. "Until now." She activated the communication system. "Captain Barnes, take the Aurora and dock with their station. Minimal crew, diplomatic protocols. We need to find out what we're dealing with before the rest of the fleet shows up." Captain Gregory Barnes acknowledged the order and guided his ship toward the station. The Aurora was one of the smaller vessels in the fleet, but even it dwarfed most of the Zephyrian ships in the area. As it approached the docking arms, Lawson could see alien vessels moving away from the station. "They're scared of us," observed Dr. Rebecca Foster, the fleet's xenobiologist. "Can you blame them?" Lawson replied. "We probably look like an invasion, forced to them." On Kepler Station, Commander Yelnara prepared for first contact. She had chosen the main reception chamber, a beautiful dome filled with flowing water and bioluminescent plants. It was designed to make visitors feel welcome and peaceful. Ambassador Helen Morrison led the human delegation through the docking tube. She had been chosen for her diplomatic skills and her ability to stay calm in unusual situations. Behind her came Dr. Foster and Colonel Andrew Peterson, representing science and military interests. The moment they entered the chamber, both species stopped and stared at each other. The Zephyrians were tall and graceful, with translucent skin that showed patterns of colored light. They moved through the water-filled chamber like dancers, their large eyes taking in every detail of the strange visitors. The humans were shorter and more solid, wearing protective suits that let them breathe in the alien environment. To the Zephyrians, they looked bulky and aggressive, like creatures built for fighting rather than peaceful contact. "Welcome to Kepler Station," Commander Yelnara said, her patterns showing careful politeness. "I am Station Commander Yelnara of the Zephyrian Confederacy." "Thank you for receiving us," Ambassador Morrison replied. "I am Helen Morrison, representing the human species. We received your distress call and came to help." Dr. Foster was busy taking readings with her instruments, while Colonel Peterson was clearly assessing the station's layout and security. Both actions made the Zephyrians nervous. "Your ships," Yelnara said carefully. There are many of them, and they appear to be quite large. Morrison smiled, trying to project calm confidence. We brought our entire defense fleet. When someone asks for help against an extinction threat, we do not take chances. The Zephyrian commander's pattern shifted to shocked yellow. Your entire fleet? How many ships is that? 847 vessels, Peterson replied, including battleships, carriers, destroyers, support ships, and troop transports. The water around Yelnara began to glow with patterns of disbelief. In the Zephyrian language, such rapid flickering meant something close to panic. That is more ships than our entire Confederacy possesses, she said weakly. Dr. Foster looked up from her instruments. Commander, may I ask about your homeworld? Our analysis suggests your species evolved in an ocean environment. Yes, Yelnara replied, grateful for the change of subject. All Zephyrian worlds are ocean planets. We evolved in the deep waters of Zephyr Prime. Your species clearly evolved differently. Morrison nodded. We come from a world with both land and water. Our planet has extreme weather, dangerous animals, and many challenges. A death world, Yelnara whispered, using the Zephyrian term for planets too dangerous for life. The humans looked confused. Death world? Peterson asked. Worlds with solid surfaces, violent weather, predators that hunt other creatures, Dr. Foster explained, understanding immediately. To a peaceful aquatic species, Earth would seem like a nightmare. Yelnara's patterns confirmed this. How did your species survive on such a world? How did you become intelligent? Morrison exchanged glances. With her companions, how could they explain millions of years of evolution, of humanity's long climb from prey to predator? We adapted, she said simply. We learned to work together, to make tools, to fight when necessary. Our world taught us to be strong. And now you use that strength to help others, Yelnara observed. Her patterns began to show hope mixed with fear. Colonel Peterson stepped forward. Commander, we need to understand the threat you're facing. Can you show us information about these machines? The Zephyrian activated a holographic display. Images of the Harvester swarm filled the chamber. Massive mechanical ships with drilling, arms, and cutting tools. Footage of beautiful worlds stripped bare, their oceans drained, their life consumed. The humans studied the images with professional interest. To the Zephyrians, the machines were terrifying monsters beyond imagination. To the humans, they were simply another enemy to be defeated. How do they fight? Peterson asked. They swarm our ships with smaller craft, Yelnara explained. Their hulls resist our energy weapons. They adapt to our tactics very quickly. We have lost 4 worlds and most of our military fleet. Dr. Foster was taking notes on her tablet. What about their numbers? How many ships do they have? Intelligence estimates suggest several thousand vessels of various sizes, Yelnara replied. Perhaps more. They seem to build new ships from the materials they harvest. Morrison looked at her companions, then back at the alien commander. Commander, Yelnara, I need you to understand something. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We know how to deal with enemies like this. The Zephyrians' patterns showed confusion. Wars? You mean actual combat between your own species? Peterson nodded grimly. We have fought each other, fought our environment, fought for survival since the beginning of our history. It made us very good at war. But why would you help us? Yelnara asked. We are strangers to you. We have nothing to offer in trade. Ambassador Morrison smiled warmly. Because you asked for help, and because we believe that peaceful civilizations like yours deserve to survive. The galaxy is better with diversity, not just machines. For the first time since the meeting began, Yelnara's patterns showed pure gratitude. Our people will be forever in your debt. Let's win this war first, Peterson said. Then we can talk about friendship. As the meeting continued, both species began to understand what they were dealing with. The Zephyrians realized they had summoned the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The humans realized they were protecting the most peaceful species they had ever encountered. It was the beginning of an alliance that would change both civilizations forever. Captain Jonathan Pierce watched the enemy ships through the view screen of the UEF Thunderstrike. The harvester machines looked like floating cities made of metal and spikes. Each one was over 1 kilometer long, covered in drilling arms and cutting, tools designed to strip planets bare. "Enemy formation ahead, Captain," reported his tactical officer. 17 large vessels, approximately 200 smaller craft. Pierce smiled grimly. The harvesters had been winning against the peaceful Zephyrians for months. They had never faced humans before. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "All ships, attack formation Delta. Close to knife fighting range and hit them with everything we have. Admiral." Lawson's voice came through the communication system from the Leviathan. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. Show these machines what happens when they mess with someone under human protection. Attack." The human fleet charged forward like a pack of wolves. The Zephyrians, watching from their distant ships, could not believe what they were seeing. No civilized species attacked at such close range. It was madness. But it was human madness. The first harvester ship to die was destroyed by the destroyer UEF Lightning. Captain Maria Santos brought her ship within 500 meters of the enemy vessel and fired a full spread of nuclear torpedoes directly into its hull. The explosion created a miniature sun that vaporized everything within 1 kilometer. "Direct. Hit," shouted her weapons officer. "Target destroyed." But the harvesters adapted quickly. They began using energy shields to deflect the human weapons. Their smaller craft swarmed around the human ships like angry metal insects. Commander Rachel Martinez was ready for them. Her squadron of fighters launched from the carrier UEF Intrepid, moving at speeds that would have killed most alien pilots. Human pilots could handle forces that would crush other species because they had evolved on a world where crushing gravity was normal. "Phoenix Squadron, this is Phoenix Leader," Martinez called to her pilots. "They want to swarm us? Let's show them how it's done. Attack pattern Omega." The human fighters dove into the cloud of enemy craft like hawks hunting mice. Their weapons were not elegant energy beams, but brutal projectiles that punched through armor and exploded inside enemy hulls. Within minutes, the space around the harvester fleet was filled with drifting wreckage. But the machines fought back. Their larger ships began targeting the human vessels with massive energy cannons. The heavy cruiser UEF Defiant took a direct hit that would have destroyed most ships. Instead, Captain Robert Chen called for damage reports. "Engineering, what's our status?" "Forward armor is gone, sir," reported Chief Engineer Linda Park. "But the hull is holding, we can still fight." "Then keep fighting," Chen ordered. "All weapons target that big bastard dead ahead." The Defiant's railguns spoke with the voice of thunder. Tungsten slugs moving at a significant fraction of light speed slammed into the harvester ship. The machine's armor, designed to resist energy weapons, could not handle the brutal kinetic impact. The enemy vessel broke apart like a toy. Meanwhile, the battle moved to the surface of the ocean world Nereid. The harvesters had been consuming the planet for weeks, but pockets of Zephyrian civilians were still trapped in underwater cities. Colonel Danny Shaw watched the tactical display from the bridge of the assault ship UEF Warrior. The enemy had established processing facilities on the ocean floor, giant machines that were draining the seas and harvesting everything they contained. "Marines, listen up," Shaw announced to his troops. "We're going into the deep ocean to fight machines designed to strip mine planets. The water pressure down there will crush normal humans. Good thing we're not normal humans." Sergeant Major Carol Fisher checked her powered armor one more time. The suit was designed to let Marines fight in any environment, from the vacuum of space to the crushing depths of ocean trenches. It was armor built by a species that refused to let anything stop them. "How deep are we going, Colonel?" asked Private First Class Tony Rodriguez. 3 kilometers down," Shaw replied. "The Zephyrian city of Deep Current is under siege. We're going to break the siege." The Marines launched from their ship in armored dropships that could function as submarines. They descended through the dark water like falling stars, their lights cutting through the gloom. The harvester machines at the bottom of the ocean had not expected an attack from above. They were busy processing captured Zephyrians and stripping minerals from the seafloor. The machines were not prepared for humans who fought in 3 dimensions. Shaw's Marines hit the enemy facility like a hammer. Their weapons were designed to stop charging megafauna on Earth, adapted for use against mechanical enemies. Explosive shells and armor-piercing rounds tore through the Harvester drones. Hostiles in Sector 7, called Corporal Angela Davis over the comm system. "Big one's moving to flank us. Copy that, Davis," Shaw replied. "Remember, these things are tough, but they're still just machines. Break them." The battle in the depths was brutal and close. Human Marines fought room to room through flooded corridors, their armor's lights the only illumination in the crushing darkness. The Harvesters had never faced enemies who could fight in such conditions. Dr. Caroline Webb, the fleet's xenobiologist, was studying wreckage from destroyed Harvester ships when she made a crucial discovery. Working from her laboratory on the research vessel UEF Discovery, she found something the Zephyrians had missed. "Admiral Lawson, this is Dr. Webb," she called over the communication system. "I found something important. The Harvester ships all have quantum communication nodes. They're not just individual machines, they're all connected to a central intelligence." Admiral Lawson's voice crackled back through space. "What does that mean for us, Doctor? If we can disrupt those nodes, we can cut their connection to the main intelligence," Webb explained. "Individual machines might keep fighting, but they'll lose their coordination. They'll become much easier to defeat." "How do we disrupt them?" asked Captain Pierce from the Thunderstrike. Webb's excitement was clear in her voice. "We need to get close to their command ship and upload a virus into their network. But it has to be done manually. Someone has to board their flagship." Colonel Shaw's voice came through from the underwater battle. "Marines can handle that, Admiral. Just get us to their command ship." The tide of battle was turning. Human tactics were proving effective against enemies who had seemed unstoppable. The Harvesters had never faced a species that specialized in brutal, close-range combat. They had never fought enemies who refused to retreat even when outnumbered. Lieutenant Nathan Brooks led a bombing run against a Harvester processing ship. His fighter was damaged, his wingman was dead, and his ammunition was almost gone. Most species would have retreated. Instead, Brooks armed his ship's self-destruct system and dove straight at the enemy vessel. "This is Phoenix 7, he called over the radio. "Going to ram the big one. Tell my wife I love her." The explosion took out the entire enemy ship and cleared the way for rescue ships to reach the trapped Zephyrian civilians. By the end of the UBI battle, the humans had proven something that would echo across the galaxy. The Harvester swarm was not unstoppable. They could be fought, and they could be beaten. But it took a species of Deathworlders to do it. Admiral Lawson surveyed the battlefield from the bridge of the Leviathan. Dozens of Harvester ships were destroyed or drifting powerless. The human fleet had taken casualties, but they had won decisively. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "Good work, everyone, but this is just the beginning. Their main fleet is still out there, and they know about us now." Commander Torres looked up from her station. "Orders, Admiral?" Lawson smiled grimly. "We're going hunting. It's time to take this fight to their home base." The Zephyrians watching from their ships could hardly believe what they had witnessed. The humans had done in hours what their military had failed to do in months. They had not just fought the Harvesters, they had crushed them. And now these dangerous allies wanted to hunt down the rest of the enemy fleet. For the first time since the war began, the Zephyrians felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. Admiral Kethara watched in horror as the Harvester swarm descended toward her homeworld. From the command center of her flagship, she could see thousands of mechanical ships surrounding Zephyr Prime. The beautiful blue oceans that had given birth to her civilization were about to be drained forever. "Over 3,000 enemy vessels confirmed," reported her tactical officer. "They are beginning landing operations on the northern continent." Kethara's bioluminescent patterns showed deep despair. Even with human help, how could anyone stop such a massive force? The Harvesters had brought everything they had for this final assault. Then space lit up with the energy signatures of jumping ships. "Admiral, we're detecting incoming vessels," the sensor operator called out. "It's the human fleet." Admiral Patricia Lawson's voice came through the communication system, calm and determined. "Zephyrian Fleet, this is Admiral Lawson. We see the situation. Don't worry. We have a plan." The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 800 ships moving like a single organism, their weapons already charging for battle. But they were vastly outnumbered. "Admiral," Commander Torres said quietly on the Leviathan's bridge, "there are too many of them. Even with our firepower, the odds are not good." Lawson nodded. "Then we don't fight fair. Signal Captain Murphy. Begin Operation Deep Strike." Captain Vincent Murphy received the order on the bridge of the UEF Valiant. His ship had been modified with experimental stealth technology for this mission. While the main fleet engaged the enemy, he would lead a small force to the real target. "Take us in, helmsman," Murphy ordered. "Silent running. We need to reach that command ship without being detected." The Harvester command vessel was hidden in Zephyr Prime's asteroid belt, a massive construct over 5 kilometers long. It coordinated the entire swarm through quantum communication networks. Dr. Caroline Webb had identified it as the key to victory. Meanwhile, the main battle began around the planet. The human fleet charged straight into the center of the Harvester formation, their weapons blazing. To the watching Zephyrians, it looked like suicide. Captain Jonathan Pierce brought the Thunderstrike into knife-fighting range with a cluster of enemy ships. "All weapons fire at will," he shouted. "Show them what Earthsteel can do." Nuclear missiles and railgun slugs tore through the Harvester ranks. But for every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. The machines seemed endless. "Colonel." Danny Shaw watched the tactical display from his assault ship as Harvester forces landed on Zephyr Prime's surface. The enemy was beginning to set up processing facilities in the shallow seas where millions of Zephyrians lived. "We can't let them establish a foothold," Shaw told his Marines. "Even if we win in space, they'll have hostages down there." "Admiral," Lawson made a decision that shocked her Zephyrian allies. "All ships prepare for orbital bombardment of enemy landing sites. Danger close to civilian areas." Admiral Cathara's patterns flashed with alarm. "Admiral Lawson, you cannot fire on our homeworld. Our people are down there." "Trust me," Lawson replied grimly. "We know what we're doing." The human fleet opened fire on their own allies' planet. Precision strikes from orbit destroyed Harvester landing craft and processing equipment. The bombardment was so accurate that it eliminated enemy forces while leaving Zephyrian cities untouched, but the humans paid a heavy price. The concentrated enemy fire was overwhelming their defenses. Ship after ship took critical damage. The heavy cruiser UEF Defiant was surrounded by enemy vessels. Captain Robert Chen watched as his ship's armor was stripped away by enemy fire. "Sir, we've lost main power," reported his engineering officer. "Weapons are offline." Chen activated the ship's self-destruct system. "All hands, abandon ship. We're going to ram their biggest ship." The Defiant's sacrifice took out a Harvester command vessel and cleared the way for rescue ships to reach trapped civilians on the planet below. In the asteroid belt, Captain Murphy's stealth mission reached its target. The Valiant and 3 other ships approached the massive Harvester command ship without being detected. "Dr. Webb, are you ready?" Murphy asked over the intercom. The xenobiologist was in the ship's computer core, preparing her virus. "The program is ready, Captain. But someone has to physically connect to their network. We need to board that ship." Colonel Shaw's voice came through from the Marine Transport UEF Warrior. "That's what Marines are for, Captain. Get us close enough." The boarding action was brutal. Shaw led his Marines through the airlock into the alien command ship, fighting through corridors filled with defensive machines. The Harvesters had never expected anyone to be crazy enough to board their flagship. "Move, move, move!" Shaw shouted as his troops advanced through the mechanical corridors. "We need to reach their central computer core." Sergeant Major Carol Fisher blasted through a group of Defender robots with her plasma rifle. "How much further?" "Colonel?" "2 more levels," Shaw replied, checking his tactical display. "Stay together and keep moving." The Marines fought their way to the ship's core, a massive chamber filled with quantum computers and communication arrays. Dr. Webb's virus was loaded into a portable device that Lieutenant Scott Williams carried. "This is it?" Williams said, approaching the main console. "Dr. Webb, you sure this will work?" Webb's voice came through his helmet radio. "The virus will cause their network to collapse, but you need to upload it directly to their primary server." Williams plugged the device into the alien computer system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights in the chamber began to flicker. "It's working," Webb shouted from the Valiant. "The virus is spreading through their network." Across the battlefield, harvester ships began to slow down and stop. The virus was simple but effective. It made each machine think that every other machine was an enemy. The mechanical swarm turned on itself in an orgy of self-destruction. "All harvester vessels are going offline," reported Commander Torres from the Leviathan. "They're attacking each other." Admiral Lawson watched as thousands of enemy ships tore themselves apart. The threat that had seemed unstoppable was destroying itself. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "Finish off any machines still active. Let's end this war." The cleanup took 6 hours. Human and Zephyrian ships worked together to destroy the last of the harvester forces. When it was over, the space around Zephyr Prime was filled with floating wreckage instead of an invasion fleet. Admiral Cathara met with Admiral Lawson aboard the Leviathan to discuss what came next. The Zephyrian leader's patterns showed amazement and gratitude. "Your species has saved our entire civilization," Cathara said. "How can we ever repay such a debt?" Lawson smiled warmly. "You don't owe us anything. We helped because it was the right thing to do. But maybe we can be friends now." "Ambassador." Helen Morrison stepped forward. "Our governments have authorized me to propose a formal alliance. Humans and Zephyrians working together to explore the galaxy and protect other peaceful species." Cathara's patterns brightened with joy. "Our people would be honored to call humans our allies. Though I admit we still do not fully understand how your species became so effective at warfare." Colonel Shaw, still in his battle-damaged armor, spoke up. "We learned to fight because our world tried to kill us every day. Ice ages, predators, diseases, natural disasters. Earth taught us to never give up." Dr. Rebecca Foster added, "But we also learned to help others. Humans work together when faced with threats. That's how we survived, and that's why we came to help you." The war was over. The harvester swarm was completely destroyed, its remnants scattered across a dozen star systems. The galaxy was safe from the mechanical plague. In the months that followed, human ships patrolled Zephyrian space while Zephyrian scientists shared their advanced medical and environmental technologies with Earth. Both civilizations learned from each other. The quantum beacon that had accidentally summoned Earth's help became a symbol of the new alliance. It was placed in a place of honor on Zephyr Prime, reminding both species that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. Admiral Lawson's final report to Earth Command was simple. "Mission accomplished. We answered a distress call from strangers and saved an entire civilization. In return, humanity has gained our first true alien allies and friends who will help us explore the galaxy. The beacon that brought us together has become a symbol of hope. Proof that in a dangerous universe, sometimes the most unlikely heroes are exactly what you need." The alliance between Deathworlders and ocean dwellers would change the galaxy forever. Together, they were stronger than either could ever be alone.